Hello everybody, welcome to Broadband Deployment News. Today I'm going to talk about what's going on with the major carriers and their 5G rollouts. Be right back. Thanks for joining me. Rick Husey here with Broadband Deployment News. So I saw a couple stories about 5G and specifically about T-Mobile, but also one that compares T-Mobile with what Verizon and AT&T are doing. So I thought that would be something good to look at today. So you see here, T-Mobile continues fixed wireless rollout with 5G, home internet push in 4 southern states. So T-Mobile has been doing 5G fixed wireless for a while now. They've been promoting both on their mobile network, but also they've been really pushing forward on fixed wireless as a competitor to wired broadband, whoever happens to be there. Now they're going to have an easier time in areas where there's not good wired broadband. So it's going to be easier for them in rural areas where maybe there's just a DSL competitor, or maybe even nobody, and maybe there's a satellite competitor, let's say a geosynchronous satellite competitor where they might have some success there. But they're even pushing in places like where I live, in the North Atlanta area. I've gotten several texts. I'm a T-Mobile customer on the mobile side. I've gotten several texts from them saying, hey, check out our home internet service. So, and it's tempting, because I've got my mobile service with them, and I'm paying a lot for my internet from AT&T, but I've got really good internet from AT&T, my fiber connection. And then bundled with that, I've got DirecTV that I signed up 4 years ago that I haven't just gotten rid of yet. Kind of still have access to that. Plus, I've got a landline phone for my security system. I think if you pull out the landline, they wind up charging you more for the service. So anyway, I'm kind of stuck in that old plan, but it is tempting. So you see here, T-Mobile continued to roll out its 5G home internet fixed wireless access service with an announcement of the availability of service to almost 3 million homes in Alabama, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Tennessee. The service is now available to more than 30 million homes nationwide, so they've been making a big push. They've announced here in September 21, they announced 5G home internet was available in 51 markets across Florida, Georgia, where I am, North Carolina, and South Carolina. Last month, T-Mobile said it was bringing the service to 62 communities in Indiana, Kentucky, and Ohio. The company said this month that it added more fixed wireless customers in the fourth quarter of 2021 than any other provider. So they've been really taking advantage of the spectrum assets that they have and have had. They have had 2.5 gigahertz spectrum that they've owned, or a lot of it they've been leasing. And the FCC is right now putting together the auction for that 2.5 gigahertz, and T-Mobile's going to want to keep control of as much of that as they can, and then others are trying to get their hands on that spectrum. Fixed wireless access is seen by T-Mobile and other wireless carriers as a powerful way in which to compete with cable operators. Proof that this is a high-stakes game. T-Mobile and Verizon each advertised their fixed wireless services during February's Super Bowl, and I forget what the ad buy was for a 30-second ad. It's multi-million dollars. I can't remember if it was 10 million, 5 million, 10 million, somewhere. It's a lot anyway. So they're definitely serious. T-Mobile home internet costs $50 per month with auto pay without additional taxes, fees, or equipment costs. There's no annual contracts or data caps. So again, it's very attractive sounding. This would be fixed wireless using mid-band spectrum, 2.5 gigahertz. I think I'm not sure what the service looks like as far as the customer premises equipment that you would need. Their mid-band spectrum can go through obstructions like walls, so it's possible that it could work with nothing on the outside of the home. Maybe you have a receiver on the inside of the home, just like you would be able to pick up your cell phone service within the home. It's not low band, so it doesn't propagate quite as far as that, but it does go pretty far, especially at 2.5 gigahertz, and it will go through walls. So let's see here. 1 free month of service is available for a limited time. And then Paramount Plus streaming service is available for free for 1 year. And YouTube TV and Philo are available for $10 off for a year as well. So on the communities they announced, you can see here in Alabama, Louisiana, Mississippi, Tennessee. And these are not major metro areas here that we're talking about as I look at these. You got Dothan, Huntsville, places like that. But you've also got, Ozark, and Phoenix City's not that big. Tennessee. In Tennessee, I noticed Sevierville. That's kind of a little touristy place. But then you got Memphis. So they're going all around here, both in more rural towns as well as big cities. So you got Memphis right there. Like I say, I've got it available in my area, and they're pushing it there. So they're definitely making a push. And then I saw this other story here. 5G analysis shows C-band is helping Verizon, but it and AT&T still trail T-Mobile. So they're playing catch up. Verizon and AT&T's recent 5G rollout could put them in a better position to compete with T-Mobile, which has had similar tech rolled out for years, again using their 2.5 gigahertz spectrum that they already had. And that's according to data from OpenSignal. Company's analysis showed that when Verizon turned on its C-band equipment in January, its average 5G speeds jumped. And where carriers have their new tech rolled out, they're all achieving similar speeds. When looking at the average 5G download speeds for each carrier, there's a clear bump in Verizon's numbers after the carrier took its C-band equipment online in January. Despite also rolling out its C-band, AT&T did not see the same bump, likely because its launch only covered 8 metro areas. So this first chart, it sounds to me like it's looking at all of their 5G assets, which would mean low-band spectrum in the case of AT&T, a lot of low-band spectrum in the case of AT&T, and their mid-band spectrum that they're just now rolling out with C-band. And in the case of Verizon, it's probably some low-band spectrum along with their millimeter wave, which is very, very fast, but they have that, and they have much fewer subscribers and much more much smaller areas for their millimeter wave, because that does not propagate at all, really hardly. So you can, a millimeter wave, you need small cells very close together. You can't have any obstructions, no trees, and even moisture in the air can attenuate the signal. So it's got to be very close together, line of sight. And again, they don't have as many customers for that, but it's very fast. So you can get gig speeds with millimeter wave. You can't get that with mid-band speeds, mid-band spectrum. But you can see here, you've got T-Mobile up 160 megabits per second and higher, getting towards 200 megabits per second, where you do see the jump here when Verizon implemented their C-band, because they have fewer customers, so that's going to make a bigger difference. You got AT&T that had more customers. So that's just looking at everything as a whole. And then they show it down here where they look at just the 5G mid-band spectrum, and you can see that it's a lot closer there. So T-Mobile is, of course, notably ahead. That's because OpenSignal's average speeds account for both those with fast mid-band and those without. That's what that's showing there. In January, Verizon said that over 100 million people would have access to its C-band service, so they're going to be very aggressive. T-Mobile said mid-band covered over 210 million at that time, so that's what they were already covering, which obviously helps in its average numbers significantly. And then you can see here 5G download speeds. And this is when you're looking at just the 5G mid-band spectrum, it looks like. So you got AT&T C-band there's at 160, T-Mobile's at 225, you've got Verizon C-band at download 211. Then on the upload, Verizon actually leading there, you've got 18.5, you got 18.2, and you got 20.7 on these. So these are all very respectable broadband speeds, and these are the kind of speeds that you might get off of a lot of cable services. So this is definitely fits the definition of broadband. As far as 25 by 3 for sure, and 100 by 20. It's not quite 20 on the, at least it is for Verizon, but it's not quite 20 in this case for these other operators on the upload speed. But it's so close. A lot of cable operators are not in that realm. So when OpenSignal narrowed the scope to just mid-band 5G download speeds, you can see here T-Mobile still on top with its more mature network, but Verizon C-band isn't too far off. AT&T is a bit further behind, and it mentions Verizon pulling out ahead on the upload speeds. And then here, this is showing the difference prior to them launching their C-band service, because you already had T-Mobile way ahead because they had their 2.5 gigahertz mid-band spectrum. And down here you had AT&T at 49 megabits per second, Verizon at 56.2 prior to rolling out C-band. So you can see a big difference there. It says, while T-Mobile's 5G rollout's been based around mid-band 5G, its competitors spent billions to get the rights to the C-band spectrum so they could do their own wide rollouts. In January, they actually started the process of broadcasting mid-band signals to consumers after several delays due to a brouhaha around the possibility that C-band signals could interfere with vital equipment on airplanes. And I did a couple of broadcasts about that a while back, because when they first want to roll out the C-band, the FAA and FCC were not quite together. I think the FCC was saying it was okay, and the FAA was saying, no, we need to test all of this and make sure that's not going to interfere with the altimeters of these airplanes. And they had to put exclusion zones around airports. So a lot of that's been sorted out, and the FAA has been coming out and approving altimeters and planes. And I think right now that's a non-issue, or at least it's less of an issue. But there was a delay. They wanted to get their service out in December, and then they delayed it until January, and they delayed it a couple of more weeks upon request of the FAA, and then they rolled it out. What this all means is that T-Mobile probably won't be able to rest on its laurels. Verizon, and to a lesser extent AT&T, have shown that their C-band acquisitions let them compete on speed where they've rolled out equipment. Verizon's planning on expanding its C-band availability to at least 75 million more people by the end of this year, whereas T-Mobile only plans on adding around 50 million more. Of course, they're ahead already. Sooner or later, Verizon may catch up, and the carriers will once again have to race for some way to differentiate themselves that they can brag about. So they're both expanding their area, and they don't, they compete in some areas, and in other areas they don't. In some areas you can get T-Mobile, you can get Verizon. In other areas I think you can only get one or the other, but there are areas like here where you can get either provider that you want. You can get three of them. You can get AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, and maybe the same, maybe very similar around the rest of the country. So 5G, definitely something that will be expanding broadband in areas. A lot of the money that will be available in the future through the bipartisan infrastructure law will be looking at areas of the country that are considered unserved or underserved. And in my opinion, any areas that are going to be covered by 5G service through one of these three providers, these three carriers, will be considered served, because people are going to be getting over 100 megabits per second and close to 20, if not over 20 megabits per second on the upload speed. So we'll have to see what happens. The FCC maps are due to be out sometime late this summer, sometime after June probably, or June timeframe. At least that's when they're going to be getting a lot of the data. There's going to be lots of challenges, those kinds of things. So we'll have to see how all of these 5G rollouts impact what is considered served and underserved or unserved as far as broadband deployment and broadband funding goes. So thanks for joining me. If this was interesting or helpful, give me a thumbs up on the video. I always like that. And click subscribe if you're not subscribed. And then go ahead and click the little bell. When you click the bell, then you'll be notified when I'm live. I'm live every day with broadband deployment news or Tech Tuesday on Tech Tuesdays. So I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.